everybody. How are you? This is Joe Nunziata. I want to welcome you to today's very special session, and I also want to thank you so much for joining me today live. I know that we had a lot of people respond, and a lot of people, of course, can make it. A lot of people can't make it, so I'll go through everything that we're going to be doing here in a minute, but I first want to just thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing your energy with me as we continue to move forward on a special day. Today, of course, is the 444 portal opening, but it is also Earth Day, and there's some other stuff going on, and I'll get into all those things as we go forward. So as I said, we're going to talk about the 444 portals. There were 3 of them this month, and then I'm going to go through a number of different things that are going on and also give you some information on how you can move forward as we go through all these changes and all the different things that are happening right now. Obviously, a lot of upset on certain levels, a lot of turmoil, a lot of changes. So I want to kind of go through all that with you today. Hopefully, when we're done, you'll feel a little bit better about what's going on and also have some different ideas as far as how you want to go forward and handle this as we continue to move through this whole situation and move through this entire process. So we just want to, really be ready to move forward as this thing continues to kind of roll over and go and move. So before we get started, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. For those of you who do not know me or are unfamiliar with my work, I've been working in energy work for over 30 years, which I'm giving away my age, but it's been a long time. And I started out, I'm originally from New York, and right now I live in Southern California. But I started out with, as a young kid, I lost my dad when I was 12 years old. He was a New York City detective, narcotics detective. Went to work right away after school, was always after high school, did not go to college, was very interested in improving myself, being successful, whatever you want to call it. And I was not great. I didn't love school, but I loved learning about life and improving myself and being successful. And I read a lot of books, and I started to go down the personal development road very early. And from there, that led me into a lot of different things. I worked really hard when I was a kid. I went out, I said, wow, I started reading books and goal setting and how to do all these different things and be successful, and went out, went into the world, applying a lot of these principles, had some ups and downs, went through a couple of bankruptcies, and was frustrated with what was going on. And that led me into deeper work. So it began taking me into first therapy and psychology and learning about human behavior. And then from there, I started to move more into metaphysical energy principles and started to learn about how your energy fields work, learned about something called the chakra system. If you're not familiar, that's the energy system in your body. It's called chakra, C-H-A-K-R-A. I learned from a few different people, one specific very powerful teacher who taught me about how to clear energy out of that system. So I started to use those principles in my life and really started to see tremendous changes and improvements. So those are the things that I started to do. I started off as far as teaching and things like that. I was out of the business world, so I was originally a sales and marketing guy. I still do business consulting, business training, executive coaching. I still do those things as well. But I also apply all of these energetic principles that we're going to talk about into those things. So I do both sides. I work with people just on their energy and also in their businesses and integrating everything together. I've also written 5 books. I have a new book coming out in September, and this one's called Heal the Deal, which is about using these principles in sales and business and how we heal ourselves through our work. So that one will be coming out in September. In case, if you're ready, I'll kind of keep you posted on what's going on. That's coming out. So what I'm going to do, every time I do one of these sessions, what I always like to open up with is I'm here to share with you what I have learned, what I have experienced, the information that I'm receiving through my own meditation work and the work that I do. I'm not here to preach. I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. I just want to share information and give you different ways to operate that hopefully will help you. So just take whatever you want to take from me today and whatever you feel will help you in your life. Again, I'm just here to share it and put it out there. So before we get started, let me just tell you a little bit about what we're going to do. So today, of course, is our special 444 webinar. If you're online, you're seeing my slides. So this session is going to be recorded. So we're going to record this session, and when the session is finished, you'll have access to the recording. I'm going to encourage you to share this with your friends. So if you say, wow, I really like this, I thought this was really helpful, I'll post a link later on, and I'm going to, as I said, encourage you to share this with people that you think would be helped. So that's something we'd like to do. At the end of the call, I can take questions from you. So there's a couple of different things you can do, ways to ask me a question. One is there's a chat box on the right if you're online. You see there's a little chat box and also a question box. So if you put the chat question, I see a whole lot of chats here. People are just saying hello and kind of jumping in. So there's a chat box there. There's also a little box there for a question. If you want to put something in the question box, and that means nobody else will see it. So obviously in the chat box, everybody will see it. Nobody will see the question. It will send it directly to me. I will not use your last name. If you feel like you want to just send me a question directly, I'll get to those at the end, and you can put those questions in at any time. And finally, if you want to speak to me on the phone, at the end of the call, you could just hit *2, and that will tell me that you want to speak to me and ask me a question directly. So that's basically what we're going to do here to get us forward. Just like to give you a little overview of what we're doing. Also, I have a YouTube channel. I post new videos every week. The link is ashotofjoe.com, ashotofjoe.com. Long story how that happened, but I'll tell you one day. And also, if you have a question that if you're not here live, or even if you couldn't get to send me a question, please feel free to email me. My email is joe@joenunz.com. So it's joe@joenunz.com. I have a couple of other new events coming up. I'll talk to you about those at the end of today. So let's get into it because we want to move forward. What's happening? What's going on? What do we experience? Why is this happening? So let's start. So the first thing we want to understand is this is an event that is a divine event. We look at it as there are no mistakes in the universe. The universe is a very orderly place. So the collective energy that we have has created this event for us. There's a purpose behind it. And what we want to do is take this information and we want to take this time to understand what's happening. Because it's happening, of course, to everybody. And it's also happening not only to us as individuals, it's happening to everybody here as we go through this tremendous change and all these shifts that are taking place. So the key right now is for us to wake up and be more aware of what's happening and what's going on in the world with ourselves, and to learn how to look at things from a different perspective. So I want to give you 3 areas to look at. And I want to just give you these 3. Now, let me just say this before I go down this road, which is I don't really get into judgment and politics and who's right and wrong and all this divisiveness that we have going on. I'm not really interested in that. I'm more interested in us understanding what's going on, learning how to look at what's going on and be aware. This is the important part of what's happening here today and what we're experiencing. So the idea is I need to be aware of what's happening and not just bury my head in the sand and make believe everything is fine and whatever's going on here. You need to be awake, because if we're not awake, we're not going to be able to move forward in a positive way. So I'm going to give you 3 areas that I just want you to pay attention to. And I'm not looking to judge it, but I want to give you a little history. And I'm also not looking to say who's right and who's wrong, because right now we're in a situation where it's important that we help each other get out of this. And trying to assess blame and point fingers and do all this is not helping us. So we need to get ourselves aware of what is going on and what type of manipulations are happening. So the first area I want you to be really aware of is the media. The media now has morphed into, in my eyes, a reality show. I don't even watch the news anymore. I don't watch the media anymore because, years ago when I was a kid, we saw the news. The person came on. They told us what was going on. We didn't have all these ideas and opinions and fights and whatever else is happening. Also, the manipulation of energy that is happening for us right now, because we're getting information fed to us for agendas that people are not even aware of. There are many agendas out there from different people trying to get you into a different place, a place of fear, which we'll talk about, and move you down a road so you can be manipulated and controlled. We're getting toward the Orwellian concept in 1984 of, Big Brother is watching everything you do. You might have seen things about them wanting to do vaccines with chips that they're going to put into your body so they can track where you're going. This is a lot of, and again, this happens because people are fear-based. This is how people get to this space. Now, just so you know, a lot of people look at the media today and say, oh, my God, what's happening? This has been happening forever. So the media has been used, really all media, everything we've consumed in our entire lives has been used as a manipulative tool to a large degree. And this, as I said, this is not new. So let me give you some history. In 1933, when Adolf Hitler gained power in Germany, one of the first things he did was give every family a free radio. And the reason he gave everybody a free radio is he was going to use that radio to push his propaganda, and he wanted to make sure everybody had access to it. Radio, back in, there was no TV. Radio was the main media that people used to get information. So he gave that to them. On the other side, here in the United States, we had our own propaganda that we were showing people in movie theaters and on radio as well, with our own story of our slant on the war, what was going on, and what we were doing. So these manipulation tools, I just want you to understand, this has been happening forever, and now it's just moving to a different level. Now we have internet, TV, we have all these different things that they can keep pushing this information on us. So here's what I want you to do, and I'm just going to give you a suggestion. Whatever you're hearing, you've got to go look for the truth, because you're hearing agendas being pushed to you for different purposes. So understand that, and this is why people call me every day, and I get emails from people saying, I'm so confused, I don't know what's going on, is this the right information, is that the right information? Even with this epidemic, they started out in the middle of March talking about 2.5 million people dying. 2 weeks later, they were down to 240,000 people dying. Then now we're at 40 or whatever thousand in this country, in the United States. I know we have people on the call from different parts of the world, but I'm just going to tell you that all this media that you're consuming, and you're seeing things on social media, and people are putting out all kinds of information, do yourself a favor, vet the information. Don't just take what you're hearing as the truth, because you're being manipulated. It's been happening to us forever. I just want to put this out there so you have awareness of it. The second thing we're going to be aware of is the government. Now, the reason I want to tell you this is we're going to go through a lot of changes in all these areas as we move forward. So the government, you also want to keep an eye on. Again, I'm not saying I don't care who you like, who you don't like, what's right, what's wrong. Look, see what's really happening, and just be aware of where we're going. And be aware of people who are trying to close you down, control you, put you in the house, not let you leave. All the people who are trying to seriously control your situation, this is dangerous for us, because it's moving us into a place that is going to take away the freedoms, especially for us here in the U.S., that we have lived with our whole lives. So the government is another thing to be aware. Look at who's doing what. Just be aware, because there will be changes there as well. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is a little more biblical. And this is really a time where we're going to say goodbye to false idols. Now, if you're a fan of history, and if you go back in the Ten Commandments, right, if you go back, we're talking over 1,000 years ago, and I'll paraphrase, because one of the commandments, which is mentioned twice in the Ten Commandments, is, and I'll paraphrase because there's different interpretations of it, which is, you shall not worship false gods. This is something that goes back all the way down. And if you remember the story of Moses, what happened was he goes up into the mountain for 40 days. He gets the Ten Commandments from well, there's actually a lot more commandments, but the Ten Commandments that we know of, he gets these 10 Commandments. There's actually like 600, but he gets the 10 Commandments. He comes down the mountain, and when he comes down the mountain, he sees the people are worshiping the idol, the golden calf. And he's so upset with this that he breaks the tablets on the ground, and of course, that's the whole story. So what happened was, in biblical times, they're talking more about worshiping false idols, false gods, pagan. Obviously, there's a lot of paganism and things like that at that time. In our day, this is a little different, because we're looking at, we are worshiping other people, and that is not something that we are supposed to be doing. It doesn't mean I can't admire someone's work. It doesn't mean I can't like someone, but I'm not supposed to put them into idol status. Now, what has happened with this pandemic is the beginning of the end of this whole situation, because what has been taken away from us, who are we worshiping now? We are worshiping entertainers, actors, musicians, athletes. These are the people that have become, or the super rich people. These are the people we've put on pedestals. These are the people, and even reality TV people have now become false idols. Now, all these people are in effect out of work. There are no sports for the first time ever. No sports anywhere. Who knows when that will happen again? There are no movies being made. There are no Broadway shows. There is nothing happening. So we now have collectively praised false idols, which is something that we're not supposed to be doing. Again, I could admire these people. I'm not supposed to move these people to idol status. So every person in the world is the same. We're all the same energy. Nobody's better than you. Nobody's worse than you. So this is something for you to be aware of, to say, am I doing this? Am I praising false idols? And I myself, when I got into this work many years ago, and I had a very powerful mentor, and she said to me, you're going to meet people in the spiritual community that you admire, and you're going to find out they're not who you think they are. And I didn't know what that meant, because I had certain people I liked that I studied and followed. As I got out, as I started speaking, I started meeting different people, and sure enough, it came true. So people that I would say idolized, but certainly looked at in a certain way with some esteem, and found out differently. So now it's about, again, it's not to say I love certain music. I might love movies, certain things that I like, but I don't want to put it into an idol position. Understand? So that's how you want to go forward. Look at everybody the same. Nobody's better than you. Nobody's worse than you. Because somebody has more money, because somebody is a quote-unquote better looking, because they're in better shape, we're all the same. And this is where we're going. I'm going to tie this together at the end as we move forward. So the question, of course, for today is this. How do you elevate yourself during these times of change? And I'm going to go through all three portals in a few minutes. But this is going to be the key right now for how you come out of this on the other side. So this will be a key element to how you, where you go, is going to be how you handle it right now as we go forward. So the first thing I want you to be aware of is a course correction. This event has jolted a lot of people. We're going to talk about this too. But this event is something for you to say, wait a minute, am I going in the direction of my life that I want to be going in? Is this a time for a course correction for you? Now you may, because now a lot of people, you have to remember, all of a sudden, everything stopped. Now people are home with their partners, with their kids, or maybe a lot of people who I've heard from are alone. They're sitting home alone for a month and a half or whatever, how long it's been so far that we've been sitting there. It was interesting because in the beginning of this, what I was hearing from people was, oh, this is nice. I could take a little break. I don't feel guilty. I can't go anywhere anyway. I can't do anything anyway. The first week or two, people were nicer. You know, people, I mean, obviously people were a little concerned, but they kind of took it almost like a little rest. Now it's a whole different thing. Now you've been in 5 weeks. Now you've been in 5 or 6 weeks already. You've been stuck in the house. Things are starting to change. Maybe the job didn't come back. Now we're in a different place. So we've moved into a whole different feeling from where we were in the beginning. So the idea right now for you is to say, this is an opportunity for me. Maybe I always wanted to do something else. Maybe I'm not in the right relationship. Maybe I'm not living where I want to live. Maybe I realize I didn't spend time with my kids, you know, being there for them. Maybe I didn't, you know, whatever it is that you saw or that you're experiencing, it's important for you to say, this is a course correction that I must make. This is why this is happening, for you to course correct yourself. Again, it's an opportunity. We have free will. You don't have to course correct. You can choose to course correct. So look at that as the first part. The other thing is you want to tune in. So if you remember, for those old people like me, if you remember when we were kids, we had a dial radio. You had to turn the dial back and forth, back and forth. You used to get all static. You would turn it around, turn it, until you got the red line right on. If you're looking at the slides, I found a picture of an old dial radio to show you. So you would slide it back and forth until you got it exactly in the spot where you needed to get it to get that station in line and where you wanted it to be. So this is what's happening for us now. We have been so consumed with running around and working and doing all these different things and keeping ourselves busy, we are tuned out of our higher selves. We are tuned out of who we really are. We've become hypnotized. We've become robots. We've become plugged into a system that is just draining our energy field. So now it's time for us to get quiet and to tune in to our higher selves. because that's really why we're here. We're here to tune in to who we are. We're here to tune in to our highest selves. I can't do that if I'm running around like a nut all day. And if I'm driving myself crazy, going here, going there, taking kids, working 80, 60, 70, 80 hours a week, there's no time for me. I don't have the energy to tune in. Now you're home. Now this is your opportunity to tune in to yourself and reconnect yourself with your highest self, with the universe, with God, whatever you want to call it. So this is an important time for us to slow down and tune into where we're going. So ultimately, this situation is going to take us between faith and fear, because this is an unprecedented circumstance. And I lived in New York during 9/11. I was in New York during the 2008 crash, and New York got hit very hard by both of those experiences. And in both cases, we had this scare. People kind of shifted a little bit for a while, but ultimately they went back to where they were before. But now we're in a little bit of a different situation, because now the whole world is now shifted, is jolted, is moved to a different place. So we're going to be in a position of, am I going to be fearful? And listen, there's always moments that we could be fearful, because it comes up for all of us as we go forward. But am I going to live in a state of faith, or am I going to live in a state of fear? Now, that doesn't mean you didn't drift a little bit into fear once in a while, but I mean, where are you living? Now, the big issue for us as humans is we are in a fear of we don't like the unknown. Human beings go through tremendous painstaking efforts to try to control their environment, try to control the situation, try to keep themselves safe. This is how we're built. We're built to do this. We're designed to build our lives this way. Now, I have an unknown future. I have lost control. So people have lost control. Things that they always counted on. They had a job. They always had a job. They always had a situation where they could make it through something or maneuver through. They always had they could always make it work. They could always, now all of a sudden, you can't. So you have an unknown situation. You can't control it. No matter what you do, you can't make it work. This is very upsetting for people who are in a fear base, because they're going through this and saying, my entire life, I was able to do this, and now I can't. Where do I go from here? So this fear of the unknown is really something we don't like. But the idea that you can set everything up to be safe and secure your whole life is an illusion, because you never know what happens. You could do everything right, and you never, right in theory, right, whatever we think that is, as far as, yes, I did everything right. I remember in 2008 when the financial markets collapsed, there was a guy that lived near me at the time. We lived in New York, in Long Island. He was a little bit of a pompous banker, and he always kind of talked about how he did everything so correct, and he had all the money in his 401k in the bank stock, and how wonderful he had done it. And he was a little pompous. And when all that happened, his 401k, the stock that he had was $60, and within 3 days it was $1. So imagine your entire life savings was wiped out in 3 days. But again, loss of control. You thought you had it under control. Now you don't. So the universe will take this away from you to show you the illusions that you're holding on to. Now, as we go forward now, we want to wake up. It's time for us to wake up and break the cycle. So we have to break the cycle of illusion and break the cycle that we're trying to control everything, and let go and move ourselves to the place that's most important, which is our connection with our highest self. That's where we're supposed to be going now. So this is what it's all about, is get out of this connection to the physical world and all these attachments that we have and the false idols that we've looked at, and chasing after money or whatever else we're chasing after, status or these ideas. It's time for us to get back to basics and get back to being who we really are. And it's really interesting that all this happened with these 444 portals happened right in the middle of this coronavirus situation. Again, not by mistake. Everything is by design. There are no mistakes. Everything that's happening is exact. So we have to understand that this is happening in divine order. And these portals happened with all this energy right now when we were all slowed down or home or being moved into a different place. So what I want to do now is I'm going to go through the 3 portals that we experienced, today being the last one, and what actually has happened in each one and what you can expect going forward. So let's get started. The first portal we had was April 4th. So a little bit of numerology for a moment. So the way we work in numerology is you break everything down to a single number. So April 4th is easy because April is the 4th month, 4 obviously the 4th, and 2020 we add those numbers together, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 0, we get 4. So that's 444. So that was the first portal opening. So a portal opening or gateway opening is a time when energy opens up and really accelerates. So we always have energy moving and changing, but when we have these portal openings, it's when we get a real jolt of energy. So I want you to think of the first portal, which was a few weeks ago, and I actually did a call that day. I'm sure some of you were with me. The first portal is like the door opens up. So imagine like you went to somewhere, you went to a party, or you got invited to somebody's house, and the door opened up, and you went in. That's the beginning. That was the opening of the situation. So a couple of different things happened to people at that point. So the first thing is, and here's what's going to happen. Things will happen to people based on where they are. Because I've been getting a lot of emails from people saying, well, how will I be affected? What will this be? What will this be like for me? What am I going to experience? And the bottom line is, it depends on where you are. So 3 things happened that I saw with people as far as breaking it down. The people who are in the lower energy, and I'm not saying this to be judgmental, I'm saying this just to put it in context. Lower energy would be people who are very attached to the physical world. So people who are very attached to their title, their job, their possessions, their status, people like that, those are the people who would be in a lower vibration. So those people were really jolted because this all of a sudden jolted their whole life and their situation. And all of a sudden their title maybe didn't matter, their job didn't matter, their status didn't matter. Everything got kind of jolted out of them. So people who are in that state are now in a mad scramble, and I'm seeing it every day as I see people and talk to people who they're desperately trying to figure out a way to keep all these things that they had going on intact, whether it be their status, whether it be their financial situation, whether it be their possessions that they've accumulated, or they've put themselves in a position where they have a lot of bills because they have they had a nice income, or they had a business that was doing really well, and all of a sudden it's not. So these people are very jolted, and you may see some of them really have a hard time as we go through this. The next level of people who are a little higher up, who maybe was saying, I'm interested in making changes. I've been wanting to make some changes. I've been doing some work. So those people were awakened. So people who were already kind of in this game or moving in this direction, they got seriously woken up. Like, boom, here it is. Here's your time to really make it happen. Here's your time to really go forward. And this is what we're looking at right now. And this is how we're seeing. So people are being woken up. They're being awakened to a higher state of awareness, as we talked about a little bit earlier. Now, the third level of people who have been doing this work for a long time and who have been on this path and have been really working on themselves, regardless of how they're doing that, those people were what we're going to call activated. So activated means you're going to be taken to a higher level of energy and vibration and awareness, and also for many people, you will start to pick up skills or things that you did not know you could do. So you're going to be activated to a higher level and say, wow, I didn't realize I could do that. I didn't realize I had that awareness. Or you may even, people are picking up more psychic abilities, more intuition, different skill sets, things that you were not aware of. This activation is coming in. So the activation is also very strong energy coming into your physical body. So you may feel that a lot in your body. You may feel headaches. You may feel achiness in your body. Me, I wasn't sleeping a lot, or you're sleeping too much, whatever it is. You're feeling dizziness, or you're feeling your eyes sometimes could get blurry. There's a whole bunch of symptoms that go with this. But these are the 3 things that we're experiencing. So this was the first doorway. It opened up. It got everything moving, and it got us kind of, again, depending on where you were, it started to move you in a direction. Now, the second portal we had was on April 13th. Again, same idea, 4, April, 1 plus 3 is 4, and 2020 is the 444 second portal. Now, by the time we got to this portal, so imagine I said the first portal, the door opened, you walked in the door. Now, the second portal, you're in the middle of it. If you're looking at your screen, you can see I have the dot with all the arrows. So you're in the middle. Now now you're deep. Now you're like deep. So imagine you went in the room. Now you went all the way into the middle. You're right in the middle of the party. You're right in the middle of all the action, all the energy. What did this do to us? So now this took us to a different place. So this took us deeper. So this was much more emotional. So this second doorway took us into much deeper emotion. It's going to bring you into deeper feelings, emotions that you did not address before. It will also open you up and expose old wounds. So old wounds are think about old wounds as issues that I did not ever deal with. So things in my life that I have kind of pushed aside or not really addressed or not really dealt with in my life. I didn't really deal with this stuff. I didn't really kind of go down these roads. I just kind of pushed it off. I kept myself busy. I did a whole bunch of different things. And now all these old wounds are coming up to the surface. Or things that you've done maybe to other people that you feel bad about. Right? Things that you have experienced that you have not taken control of as far as dealing with the emotion that has come up as you've gone through these experiences and all these different feelings. So this is where these old wounds and old feelings are going to come up into your consciousness and into your awareness. They're going to be almost pushed right in front of your face. You're going to be kind of saying, wow, these came right up into my face and into my wheelhouse. So they're going to force you now to look at yourself. You're going to be forced to kind of say, okay, I have to look at myself. How did I get where I am? Am I happy about it? How do I feel? And what is it that I'm holding on to that I have not addressed? What am I still holding on to? What fears am I holding on to? What identity am I holding on to? So this is a big part of this, is the identity piece. So meaning we all have an identity here in the physical world. We need an identity to have the experience that we're having here as humans. Because without that, we're all one energy, so we need the illusion of being separate, right? That's what we have here in the physical world. That's what this world is all about, being separated. So now, because we needed that identity to come here, and as kids we grew up and we picked up an identity. So whatever your identity was as a kid, most people still have it. Or if you've done work on it, you've gotten rid of, hopefully, a lot of it, as I have. But, again, we still have these identity pieces that we're holding on to. So you have to look at yourself and say, what identity am I holding on to? Am I the caretaker? Do I have to always take care of everybody? Am I still doing this? Am I the failure? Am I the incompetent one? Am I the responsible one? Am I the irresponsible one? What identity have I taken on that I have continued to hold on to throughout my entire life? So now it's time for us to say, wow, that identity got pushed right in my face. So if you're one of those people who your identity was very third dimensional, where your identity was, oh, I want to be the boss, or I want to have a certain status, or I have to be this certain thing in order to function, in order to be alive, in order to be here. Now all of a sudden that identity is going to be stripped. Or you're going to look at it and say, wow, this identity got me into this position that I'm in, and is this where I want to be? So this is an examination that you want to do within yourself. You want to examine yourself and say to yourself, okay, what is my identity? What am I still holding? What am I still doing? And I'll tell you where you're going to see it, where you can really identify it, to give you a little trick of how to do it. It's going to be tied to your ego. It's going to be tied to your judgment. It's going to be tied to your resistance to being different. So you have to look at this and say to yourself, what am I holding on to egoically that I feel like I need? What am I judging? What do I think I have to be good or to be accepted? What does that look like for me? Am I still doing that? Is that still impacting my life right now? The other thing right now, as we're going through this, is it's very up and down. And here's what I mean. The energy is coming in so strong that we have a very up and down situation where there's certain days where you may say, wow, I feel really good. I feel clear. My mind is clear. I feel really great. Like I could take over the world. And the next day you can't do anything. Or you feel tired, or you feel achy, or you feel like I can't even put a thought together. So don't worry about it, because this is part of what this is about. It's good because it's emotional. So when it's emotional, think about it. When it's an emotional thing, right? It's a roller coaster. Think about times in your life when you were going up and down, when you were going through all these different things, when you're going through an emotional time, right? You were up, you were down, you were up, you were down. It could have been in a relationship. It could have been in a job you had. It could have been with family, where you went through this constant up and down feeling of emotion and up and down cycles. So look at that and say, wow, if this is what's happening, it's like riding a wave. You just have to ride it. Just ride it out. And be nice to yourself. So if you feel like certain days, wow, I feel pretty energetic and I want to do some more things. If you can get out of the house, which I don't know if we can, right? Maybe you want to go for a walk. Maybe you want to do whatever, or you want to write a little bit or do some work. Other days you may say, I'm really zoned out. I need to be nice to myself. I need to nurture myself right now. I need to slow it down. So that's going to be an important factor as you go forward. Because you want to be able to make, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So you're going to be up, down, up, down, up, down. So just kind of ride it as you go. And just be aware. So the things I'm giving you are things to really sit with, right? Thinking about looking at yourself, your situation, your identity, all the things that we're talking about. So the final portal is today, which is April 22nd, 2020, which is today, which of course back to the fours, right? April 4, 2 plus 2 is 4, and the 2020, 444. This is the final portal, and you can see, if you're looking at my slides, you can see that I have a door closing with a little light coming out, because now we're just going to close the door. As I said, it's also Earth Day, and I'll tell you about another thing that's happening. So now the cycle today will end. This cycle of intense energy is going to end as we get through the end of the day into tomorrow. And the question is going to be this for you. It's a reflection. It's a reflective time, right? It's reflection. What have I learned in this time? What have I learned in these last couple of weeks? Now, I'm saying from April 4th, of course, these things started happening as far as the virus was concerned even before that. But it's a time to kind of say, because of this situation, and anytime we go through an intense situation, it changes us. Living in New York during 9/11, and I was actually at the airport that day, it changes who you are. Because you go through an experience, or you've lost someone close to you, someone died young, you've gone through traumas. These things stick with you. So now it's a matter of saying, what have I learned from this experience? What am I going to look at here? So things that you want to be aware of is, how did this experience, how did this energy, how did all these things really impact your belief system? What do you believe? What did you believe before? Do you believe things differently than you did before? I've had people say, wow, I used to look at the news and whatever. I don't look at it the same anymore. Or I used to look at people in a different way, or certain people are acting differently. I'm looking at things very differently than I'm looking at religion differently. I'm looking at government differently. I'm looking at myself differently. So look at your belief system and say, what beliefs have shifted for me during this time? Also, the people in your life. What have you noticed about the people in your life? One of the things we know is in crisis, we usually see people, really, their truth comes out. We know who they are. And what's always interesting about this is there are certain people will surprise you both ways. There are certain people that you say, wow, they really stepped up and they were amazing, and I didn't expect that from that person. And somebody else would say, wow, they really went down the tubes. I didn't expect that from that person. Right, so it's very interesting to say which people cared about you, who was reaching out to you, who was making sure you were okay, who did you see as a friend, who did you see as people that you said, wow, I was surprised who I could count on, I was surprised at who reached out, I was surprised at who I could talk to at this time. So be aware of the people in your life and what's going on. Also, what's important to you. What has changed in what's important? Maybe before, Your job was really important. Maybe before your status was really important. Maybe your car was really important. Maybe where you live was. Has this changed? Are you looking at life a little differently? Are you looking at yourself differently and say, what's important? What is really important for me? And what will be important for me as I move forward? What will be important for me in my life as I go from where I am to the next place? Your identity, which we talked about already, what elements, now understand something, you need an identity to be here, but what you want to do is this, look at your identity and say to yourself, what elements of my identity do I need to let go of? Is there a jealousy? Is there a lot of judgment? Are there parts of is this attachments to the physical world, or things that I was concerned that I had the right pair of shoes, or whatever it is that's in your identity? Maybe it's, things that you want to let go of. You want to maybe let it go now and say, these elements of my identity are no longer necessary. I don't have to be, it's funny. I always had an identity growing up because of my situation, not going to school, losing my dad. I was always having to prove myself. I always felt like I had to prove myself that I was good, that I was better, that I was smart, because I didn't have certain things I didn't grow up with certain things. And it's something that really caused a lot of pain for me in my life. And as I did the work years ago, I realized, I don't need to do that anymore. I don't need to prove anything. But that was a very powerful lesson for me, because to me that was such a big part, which I did not realize, such a big part of my identity was always proving that I got into this work and started teaching, and I had to prove that I was smart, and I had to prove that I knew what I was doing. So it was very draining, right? So I realized that I have nothing to prove. Or I have people say with their families, I have to, no matter what I do, my family is never okay with it, or they're always giving me a hard time. Let it go. You're never going, certain things are not happening. You have to be in acceptance. So let it go. And finally, what do you desire? Have your desires changed since this whole situation, or maybe you've been moving toward this? And one of the things I noticed when I started doing inner work and energy work and healing work within myself, I noticed that my desire for things in the physical world started to fade away. Like growing up, we grew up, and, growing up in the 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever, in the 80s especially, when it was all about money and cars, and, we were very tied into this whole idea that we wanted all these things. As I started doing this work, it was almost like all those, it doesn't mean I didn't enjoy something nice or wanted to have a nice place to live or whatever, but the importance of it went away. So the desire to have certain things, to be a certain way, to show a certain thing so I could prove myself or to feed my ego started to go away. So look at your desires and say to yourself, are my desires changing now? Is my desire now, I need to spend more time, I want to spend more time with my family. I realize I haven't done that. I want to spend more time on myself, exercising and taking care of myself and being quiet and meditating. What desires have changed for you? What is going to be different for you as you go forward? So now, as we move forward here, what we want to do is we want to let this settle in. So this is going to take a little time to settle in for us, because imagine you got hit with this tremendous energy that came in for the last couple of weeks, and now it just kind of hit your body, you absorbed it in, you're trying to assimilate it in, you try to bring it into your system, and now you've got to let it settle. So this may take a few weeks here before, and again, your energy is always moving, so we're going into different space. So understand that you're going to continue to go through transitions, but especially now, the next few weeks, you're going to need a little R&R, meaning you need quiet time. You need to contemplate. You need to look at yourself. You need to look at your life. You need to look at the decisions you're making. And these are going to be important things to happen as you settle, because you're getting ready. We all are. We're getting ready for a new chapter. So the question is going to be, how do I want to approach this new chapter? How do I want to approach this chapter right now? What am I going to do? So here's going to be an important part of this. After this is over, you want to hold your space. So again, as I said earlier, this is what I saw with 9/11 And this is what I saw with 2008. People kind of got nice for a little while or whatever they did. They made a few adjustments, but they went back to where they were. So now, whatever you have learned, whatever shifts you want to make, whatever changes you want to make, whatever you want to let go of in your identity, whatever you want to focus on now moving forward, it's important that you hold your space. You know, we call it a spiritual practice because it's like anything else. I have to keep doing it to maintain it and keep elevating. So it's going to be important for you to hold on to your space. Hold on to where you are. Don't lose this feeling that you're holding on to. Don't lose the changes, the positive changes and emotional experiences that have taken you to a different viewpoint or a different way to live or a different feeling in your life. So it's an important thing for you to do is hold that space. And how do you do that? Well, you're going to do it through meditation. If you're not a meditator, spend quiet time every day. That's important for you to do. Again, letting go of attachments, letting go of judgment, becoming more compassionate, understanding that people are all the same. And even though maybe somebody's having a bad time or their life is in disarray, you know, it's not about judging that person. It's about having compassion for people, even people that are not nice to you. You know, Jesus said, what did Jesus say? Love your enemies. He said, love your enemies, right? This is not something a lot of us do. Because they say, why should I love my enemies? Because they're in pain. They're in emotional pain. So I'm not saying hang out with your enemies, but don't put negative toward anybody. Don't put the minute you put negative energy out, that is going to boomerang right back to you. So put love, even a person who you say, wow, I don't like how this person operates. I don't like what they're doing. But you know what? They have their own issues and pain. I want to put love toward that person. That's how we bring ourselves to a higher place. Again, I'm not saying you're going to dinner with them. What I'm saying is you put love toward that person. So we're going through also a lot of separation. And as we go through separation, it's kind of like the dark and the light. And we know that the dark and the light cannot exist in the same space. Right? We know dark and light cannot exist together. So, you know, it's funny. I keep seeing people on social media, especially on Facebook, and they're saying, I'm losing friends every day because I'm posting something or whatever they're posting about what's going on or or an article they found or whatever the case may be. And, you know, we have this extreme situation going on. That's good because you're starting to separate, to stay in the light. So don't worry about it. There's going to be a natural separation of people. There's going to be a natural separation. You don't have to do anything because as your vibration is elevating, remember, you're going to be moving toward the light, toward people who are more in the same alignment with you and where you are going. And the other people are going to go down their own road. But they are not to be judged because they are not bad. They are just going down a different road for their journey. See, this is part of the compassion. Now, I may say, I don't want to go on, that's your journey, it's not mine, I don't want to go down that road. But for us, we'd say we bless them and say, I wish you the best and I hope it works, or whatever they have to experience, they have to experience. So we just keep moving to the light, and we just keep trying to send light to everybody else, and that everyone else has to have their own experience. So we don't want to, again, cast negative energy. When I see people on social media, somebody posts something, everybody's cursing and putting all kinds of crazy things out there, and you're seeing, I see celebrities posting things. I hope this person dies. I hope this person gets sick. These are horrible things to be. These are not things you want to be doing, right? And these are people that, again, the false idols that people are looking at. These people are looking at these people as on a higher level, and then watch the behavior, right? And then say, God bless you. You're in a lot of pain. I need to move on from that situation. So the other thing we have happening today or tomorrow, depending on where you are, is a new moon. So this is a blockbuster day because we've got Earth Day, we've got the portal, and we've got the new moon all in one shot. So we have a new moon every month, and the new moon is always about basically a refresher. So it's like, when you restart your computer and you kind of refresh it and get your updates. This is what this is. So now not only we have all this portal energy coming in, not only do we have the Earth Day, which is a day that was supposed to be sitting here, loving the Earth and appreciating the Earth, and now we have the new moon, which brings us new beginnings. So this is all, again, perfectly orchestrated for us to go to a different place. So take time tonight, look up at that new moon. Hopefully, depending on where you are, you can see it. It depends where you are. You can look online to see what time. And absorb that energy. Absorb that new moon energy. Absorb that whole change that's taking place. And allow yourself to go down a higher road. Let go of the pain. Let go of the old. Let go of all these things that have been causing you trouble or really creating disruption in your life. It's time for you to really let it go. So the real big shift in this whole picture, so I want to talk about the big shift, because this, obviously, as I said, we're all going through our own issues and our own things and our own feelings and our own emotions as we go down this road and we go through these different things. But on a much higher level, we're going through very different and big changes. So the main shift that we're going to see right now is we are going from a me consciousness to a we consciousness. So this is what we're really seeing here, is the people who are highly egoic are going to try to stay in a me consciousness, which means they're going to be really driven by their ego, their desire to gain an upper hand, their desire to manipulate and control. Those of us who are not on that train, we realize we're going into a we consciousness, which is that we are all together. We are all one energy, and we must love each other. We must care for each other. We don't want to judge each other. We want to understand that this is where we're going. But we realize, because we are living in this world, in a physical world, in a physical situation, where the universe and this world here, our world is about ups and downs, right? Our world is about positive, negative. So you're always going to have people that we consider to be, again, everything's a judgment because we can't help it, right? But the bottom line is there are always going to be people that will be what we would consider evil or negative or bad guys, right? That's part of life. But we have to understand that we're going to be in a we consciousness, and we want to live that way. Now, part of being in a we consciousness means that we all work together and we all benefit. You're allowed to benefit. It's not about being a martyr. It's not about sacrificing yourself. It's about saying, hey, how do we all work together, and how do we make the world better for everybody? That's really where we're going here. So for those of us who want to be on that train, this is going to be a very exciting time. For the people who want to stay in the me consciousness and want to continue to seek personal gain at the expense of others, who are looking to further their status through this situation, and we're seeing it every day. It was funny in 9/11 when that happened in New York. You saw the most wonderful stories of what people were doing, and you saw the worst things that people were doing. You saw people that were helping. You saw people that were helping families. You saw all these amazing things, and then you had people going down to the site, stealing metal so they could sell it. Right, so you saw people opportunistically saying, how do I take advantage? And of course, that's always going to happen. That's human nature. You see the best of both worlds whenever we see a crisis situation. But it doesn't matter. You know what? Because those people have their own karma, their own energy, their own things to deal with. So for you want to focus on the we consciousness. You want to focus on working together, being together. How do we help each other, including yourself? Don't leave yourself out. You're part of it. You're one of the people who's supposed to benefit as well. So I want you to go out from today. I want you to bless everyone you see. Bless the world. Bless everyone. Bless yourself. And keep sending good energy out. Do not get caught up in all this fear, because this fear that they're trying to pump on us is going to send us in a negative direction. Now, I'm not telling you to go crazy. I'm not telling you to be irresponsible. I'm not telling you to start, doing things that are potentially good, where you could get sick. I'm not telling you that. But what I'm saying is, don't get bogged down by all this fear that's being pushed on us. Because there's a design behind it. So we just want to say we're going to be smart. We're going to live our lives in a certain way. We're going to keep putting love out there. As we put more love out there, this whole energy shifts. And this whole thing will go away, and we'll be able to move forward in a positive way. So before we get to, if anybody has a question, I just want to tell you about a couple of things I have coming up. On the first Saturday of every month, I do a webinar called Spiritual Saturdays. So the next one will be May 2nd. And I'm going to be talking about creating peaceful power, because now we're going to go to a different way of being powerful. Not like we learned it when we were kids. We're going to move into a different space. So if you'd like to find out more about that, you can go to spiritualsaturdays.com. And as I said, I do that call on the first Saturday of every month. So if that's something of interest, and if you're online, you can click the slide. It'll take you right there. And also next month, what I'm going to do, because we're in this situation, is I'm going to be doing energy clearing sessions on Zoom. So I know now, obviously, we can't get together. So I used to do them live, and I've done some virtually as well. But now, of course, we're in a situation where we can no longer sit around in a group temporarily. So I'm going to be doing different energy clearing sessions on different dates on Zoom, where I'm going to show you how to identify and clear energy that you're holding and how to connect yourself to your higher space so you can manifest and create what you desire. So that website is elevateyourenergynow.com. You could also click that slide, which is elevateyourenergynow.com. So I have a special offer on that site. We're going to start doing sessions next month in May. And I also have, I'm going to give you a gift that you can start practicing and doing the work right away with the minute you decide you want to do that. So take a look at that. If you have any questions, as I said, please email me or let me know if you have a question. But that one's going to be Elevate Your Energy Now. And we're going to go through a process. Now, here's the key with this. Once you learn the process, you can do it for the rest of your life. This is the process that I learned, that I teach other people, that I use every single week on myself to keep my energy clear and keep myself moving at a high level. So I want to just let you know that that's available. Check it out. Like I said, it's going to be something that you can do to move yourself out of where you are. And then anytime something happens in the future, you'll be able to use these processes to clear that energy and move yourself forward. So if anyone has any questions, please hit *2 on your phone. If you would like to speak to me directly, hit *2 on your telephone, or you can put a question in the question box, or you can put something in the chat. Now, somebody asked me something in the chat a little while ago. Kevin, love it. Your energy clearing has helped me so much, Joe, over the past 5 years. Oh, I'm so happy. Good, always good to hear that we're getting positive feedback from people who have been cleared in their energy. Someone just said it's 444 where I am. I guess that was before. So, again, you're going to start seeing more signs. That's another thing I just wanted to touch on here before we go. You're going to start, as you elevate your energy, you're going to start to get more messages. So look for messages that you're getting from the universe. So you may say, I'm thinking about something. I'm not really sure where I'm going. I'm not really sure what I'm doing. And all of a sudden you get a message. Also ask for the messages. So ask for it. So there is something that you can actually go out there and say to yourself, I'm going to ask for the messages and I will get those. So you have to ask questions. So here's the deal. When you're asking questions to the universe, be specific. Okay, so you're sitting quietly. You're going to ask a question. You're not sure about something. Now, again, the answers come in many different ways. The answers come to you many different ways. So just sit quietly and say, I'm not really sure about this. I'm not really sure maybe what direction I'm going in or what I should be doing or where I'm going. What I want you to do is I want you to sit quietly, ask the question, and then as you ask the question, just wait for the answer. It's not going to come 5 minutes later. I have a question here. My friend Sabrina in Aliso Viejo.
Hey, Joe.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much. Thanks so much for doing this, too. I want to applaud your work. Every single time I meet you or we do this work or whatever, it's just incredible. So thank you so much for doing this for everyone.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And, I just want to speak to what you're saying, and I don't know if anybody else, is experiencing this on the call, but I seem to have finally, and I've got more work to do on it, but I seem to have finally been able to kind of slow my mind down enough where I'm catching thoughts, feelings, and intuition, very intuitive things coming up for me. And so I just wanted to speak to that. And last night, I have not been sleeping for many nights now, probably
join
about,
the club.
yeah, at least a week's worth or so. I'm getting about 4 or 5 hours of sleep and going to bed at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and just massive amounts of energy night and day. And my ears are just ringing like crazy. a different high pitch, like the pitch is higher.
Yeah, normal.
And yeah, exactly. Like you said that on our last call too, and I was like, oh my goodness, it had switched right like 2 days before you said that. And so, but it's interesting, you know. I finally slowed down enough because the other morning, I always say my prayer in the morning about, you know, thank you so much for whatever it is. And so one of my prayers was thank you so much for bringing to me, you know, my ideal clients. And I hadn't checked my phone, of course, or anything like that because, you know, just not the first thing I like to do. And but after I got done with my prayer and stretch and stuff like that, I checked my phone and I had an email from somebody who was referring me to clients. And what's funny is that I normally would not have caught that, and it did take me a couple of minutes, and I was doing something else. I'm like, oh my gosh, it happened. That was that was really awesome. And so so a lot of stuff like that has been going on for me, and including a very strange thing. And I don't know if this is. It sounds like maybe what you're talking about. Last night I just started. My whole body kind of just started vibrating a little bit. Like I felt like I was trying to get a download, which sounds bizarre to me because I'm not, you know, I don't dabble in whatever oracle cards or anything. Not that there's anything wrong with that or anything, but I don't, you know, that's not me. I tend to come from a logic-based, you know, kind of head, which is an issue. And so, but anyway, it was I felt like I was literally connected to spirit, and I don't think I've ever had that feeling before. So in the last 24 hours, I feel like something really shifted for me. Does that sound like, does that sound like what you're talking about?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things. So I have that a lot. I've been having that for many years. So all of a sudden, what you could be even sitting somewhere. It happens to me sometimes when I'm meditating. All of a sudden, I'll start to feel my body vibrate because you're vibrating energy high. A lot of times if I'm sleeping, it'll actually wake me out of my sleep. And I'll feel intense vibration in my body where I'm like, it almost like somebody plugged me into a socket almost.
Yeah.
So these are what I was talking about in the beginning with the first portal, which are the activations. Because the activations, what's happening with the activations is the activations are bringing in all this energy. And again, it's going to hit everybody differently. So it could be a headache. It could be vibration. It could be the ringing ears. All these are signs of you being activated. So don't worry about it. So just, you know, again, I went through, I think the last 2 nights is the first time I slept in about 5 weeks. So
wow.
And it was like, at least I got I wouldn't say it was the most, I didn't sleep 12 hours, but at least I got like a block of time. So I know when these things happen, a couple of things will happen also. And I just want to, and thank you, Sabrina. I want to, let me just, I was going to mute you for a minute so I could just go through this, but I want to thank you for that question. Another thing to be aware of is, the energy comes in hot. So what I mean by that is the energy comes in really hot, and you may all of a sudden start to feel really thirsty because it's almost like it's burning you up. So make sure you drink a lot of fluids, a lot of liquid, your replacement like Gatorade type things as well, because your body gets really heated up with the energy. It's almost like burning through you. So you need to keep yourself very hydrated. So that's also important. So just be aware of these activations, and then again, as you're getting activated, what ends up happening is you'll start to see different things happening. Like you said, getting these phone calls, or all of a sudden something will come into your mind and you'll think of an idea, or somebody you'll think to call someone and they'll call you, and then there'll be an opportunity. So, or also again, intuitiveness, different things that are coming. So this is all going to be happening for everybody at different levels. So just be aware. Be aware of it and understand. But like I said, the more you get quiet, the more you tap into it, the more you allow yourself to be in that connection of that spirit, the more you will have these experiences. And don't drive yourself crazy. And, it's just one of those things. So I got another question from Kevin, my friend Kevin in Toronto. Joe, thank you so much. Since mid-March, so many things have gone so amazing for me, almost the opposite of what I have heard and read from others around me. Is this normal? Well, again, Kevin, whatever's happening for you is your experience. And one of the things I think we're going to see right now is people, and I know Kevin a long time, but people who have been doing a lot of work and have not necessarily received what they would have liked for all that work because of the energy that we were in. this is going to be a time when things are going to shift. So you may say, wow, a lot of people who were on the top of the world for a long time may come crashing down because all of a sudden, things are going to change. So this is something that you will notice where people are going to all of a sudden, because this whole situation has really leveled the playing field. So it's leveled everything out. So now people who are in a certain position, all of a sudden they're not. They're out of work. Their business closed. They've been in certain places. Or people who I've seen and say, wow, this person, they were doing horrible things for a long time, but it doesn't matter. The universe takes care of everything. You don't have to worry about it. So you don't have to worry about it. So this is all part of it. And a couple of things in the chat, and I'll just to address this, because we're all going through it, and I'm really excited to see this, because it's telling me that we're all really jacked up here. I've got Ann saying, my ears have been buzzing 4 or 5 years, really bad lately. Yes, Ann, me too. My ears have always been buzzing, but now it's almost like sonic drilling into your head on certain days. Someone else, Kim, yeah, me too. Massive energy Monday, tired Tuesday. Again, it happens. We get hit with a lot of energy. Our bodies kind of take it in. It takes a little time to recover. When I do the energy clearing work with people, which I'll be doing, it's the same thing. I clear out energy, and then all of a sudden, the next day I'm really tired because I've gone through this. Also, Cindy, thank you. Yes, frequencies have changed over the last few years. They've been changing dramatically since September of 2016. So you could mark that date. Right around the middle of September in 2016, everything shifted up dramatically. And this year, it shifted up again. But it's been going up. And now we're building, like anything else, we're building speed and momentum. And I have Ann, yes, my dry spell shifted, started a new job, 310 after 4.5 years, also getting clients. Awesome. Again, getting in alignment, getting ourselves in shape, moving ourselves in the right direction. So these are all very exciting things that are happening, and I'm really thrilled to be part of this work and be working with so many great people and have connections like all of you. So be ready. Here's the last thing I'll say before I say goodbye, before we speak again, is this. Be ready for unexpected changes and embrace unexpected changes. That is going to be one of the hallmarks of this. As we come out of this and as we hit May, that's when you're going to start to see things really shift again. So, again, a few weeks after this portal, the rest of this month, we're going to settle in. Then we're going to start really rolling. So be ready for unexpected changes and be prepared to go down roads that maybe you had not thought about before, because the universe is going to bring opportunities that you are ready for now that maybe you were not ready for in the past. So just be open to the whole thing. Louisa, how are you, my dear? Good to hear from you. I'm normally really attentive to other people's feelings, but lately I seem to not care. Other people seem to have conflict with me, and I would normally go out of my way to squash it, but I've started to feel like I haven't been standing up for myself. Could this be me letting go of my old identity or becoming aware? Yeah, so your old identity might have been being overly attentive to people, or maybe going out of your way, or being, in effect, a caretaker to a high degree. And now you're starting to maybe realize, I don't want to get involved in everyone's business. I don't have to fix everybody's problems. So that old identity is no longer going to be serving you anymore. So you don't need to do that anymore. So that's exciting time, right? I don't need to go down that road anymore. I don't need to, move myself into that situation where I have to help everybody or fix everybody's issues and so forth. So it's just one of those things. And I want you to just be aware of the adjustments that you're making. And one of the things that you want to just be aware of, to say, I'm making adjustments and I'm making these shifts and I'm aware of what I'm doing and I'm making different choices because I no longer need to be that person. So very exciting. And my good friend Kathleen, how are you? It has been so long since we talked. We must connect. Thank you so much. Great call, Joe. Kathleen here. You've grown in amazing ways. Thank you for hosting this. Yes, you know me a long time. A lot of work, as you know, Kathleen. We've both been on this journey for a long time. So thank you, my dear friend. It's great to hear from you again. And I have another call from DL in Eugene, Oregon. DL, are you there?
That's me, Joe. It's Kathleen. I don't know why it says DL.
It says DL Roberts. I don't know. But how are you?
I've had this line for 8 years. I'm doing great. I really love this. This was a nice call. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I wanted to hop on and hear what you were up to, and I'm so glad I did. So keep doing what you're doing. It's wonderful.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. It's great to hear from you. And I know you have the plant-based. What is the Facebook group you have?
It is Plant-Based Eating for Health.
Yeah, it's a great
group. Thank you.
I'm in that
Thank
group, and I'm a
much.
vegetarian, and I've of course been plant-based eating for 10 years. So it's a great page to go. It's just say it again, Kathleen. It's plant-based eating.
Plant-Based Eating for Health. You want to make sure you add the for health. Yes.
Okay, go on Facebook, join that group, and Kathleen has great recipes, all kinds of great information. I'm in there all the time, and really good information. Because right now, also, there's so much I could cover, Kathleen. Thank you for bringing that up. Is your diet is also part of it. Your diet will change. You're going to look for more healthy foods. You're going to look to eat less because your body doesn't need as much food to continue to go forward. So all these different things are changing within us, mentally, emotionally, physically. Everything's changing at the same time. So it's a really exciting situation. So thank you. It was great to hear from you.
You too. Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you so much. So again, Kathleen, great page. Check that out. That's a really good one for you as well. So again, thank you everyone so much. I'm sending everybody tremendous blessings and much love. I look forward to connecting with you again. As I said, take a look at those other pages if you're interested in working with me on those, spiritualsaturdays.com, elevateyourenergynow.com. We're going to be doing energy clearings. Keep working hard. If you have any questions, please email me. So stay blessed. Keep it together. We'll be out of this soon, and the other side's going to be beautiful. So I love you all. I will see you soon.